Hello, welcome. My name is Kenneth Page, and I am pleased to introduce you to Adulting 101.org. Here at Adulting 101, our mission is to influence a generation of young people to build a strong foundation for their lives and position themselves to discover what they can contribute to this world. Through transparent, vulnerable, and honest conversations, we'll teach impactful, meaningful, and applicable life skills that young people need to successfully navigate life. Here with me today, I want to introduce you to is we have Jeremiah. Jeremiah, he's finishing up his eighth grade year. He plays football, basketball, and he used to play soccer. He wants to, if he doesn't make it in the NFL, well, he's going to get there. But his backup plan is to have a career in engineering. Jeremiah, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
All right. Also, I'd like to introduce you to Kalendra. Kalendra, she is finishing up her collegiate career at USC Upstate. She's a criminal justice major, an aspiring lawyer one day, and she's currently working as an insurance professional. Kalendra, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome. And then I'd also like to introduce you to Quentin. Quentin is a freshman at USC. He's studying mechanical engineering, and he hopes to be an officer in the Army one day. Quentin, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
And then I'd also, I'm honored and I am pleased to introduce you to the Dr. Shaherah Williams. Dr. S, thank you so much for joining us. Dr. S is a holistic practitioner, a mental wellness coach, author. She's also, she's the host of her own radio show. It's called the Breathing Room Radio Show. You can tune in on it every Tuesday at 10:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on iHeartRadio with WDRB Media. Dr. S, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you. All right. Today, we're going to be coming from the Adulting 101 curriculum, Volume 1, and the subject, we're going to be doing the lesson, Strategic Stress Strategies.
Why is this conversation important?
Thanks for asking, Jeremiah. The reason that this is an important conversation is because stress is something that throughout all walks of life, at all times, it's something that we're going to have to learn to deal with. It's always going to be around. Whether we're going through the early years in middle school, high school, college, you graduate, you get out in the real world. If you want to start a family, you want to have a career, you want to go after your dreams, you want to achieve your purpose. It doesn't matter what it is or what's going on, there's always going to be a level of stress. Now, the problem with that is everybody doesn't always handle their stress the correct way. Everyone doesn't always handle stress the right way. And when you start looking at, when you look at, people going through suicidal problems, sometimes depression, anxiety, when you start giving yourself into addictions, sometimes when people go through sexual promiscuity on a high level, all of these self-destructive tendencies, these self-destructive patterns and behaviors, a lot of times there's a root cause in there. You can trace it back to a level of stress that was going on that they didn't know how to properly deal with. And with you all being the next generation coming up, you all have goals, you have dreams, you have aspirations, you were created to be something, you have a purpose, there's something inside of you, there's something inside of you all here, there's something inside each and every one of you watching this, that you have something to contribute to this world. There's something in you that needs to come out to help make this world a better place. Well, if we don't know how to handle stress, and even when trying to pursue the good things in life, if we don't know how to handle that stress, it forgoes our opportunity or our chance to achieve those things in life. So this is a very important conversation because we want to make sure that you all are positioned to get the most out of life, or not only get the most out of life, but to contribute the things to this world that's inside of you. All right, so that's why this is important. So let's jump right in. Let's jump right into this. Dr. S, with you being here, I want to start with you.
Okay.
When we say stress, when we talk about
hmm
the subject of stress, what does that mean to you? How do you see it in your perspective?
Well, whenever you talk about stress, it's the emotional as well as the physical tension, as a response to whatever you may be experiencing in that moment. And so I always like to say that there is good stress and bad stress, because a lot of times when we say stress, we always relate it to the part where it's overwhelming. I think, oh, okay. You're overwhelming and you're feeling, you know, um, really anxious. A lot of stress brings on anxiety. But the good stress is it's going to help you to run away from a bear just in case, or run away from situations where your body begins to be heightened and it goes into a place of protection. So, again, understanding the balance of it, we all need a little stress, right? But it's when the stress is so profound where it's interfering how you operate day to day. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, absolutely.
But, but it definitely causes emotional responses as well as physical responses.
Emotional and physical responses,
Mhm.
absolutely. Because sometimes, we can feel that stress, like physically feel it in our bodies,
Mhm.
like heart diseases and cognitive failures, things like that along those lines. Now, let me go, Quentin. Let me start with you, Quentin. So, you're a freshman in college. You had to go through that transition of high school into college. And I know you all normally young people have a lot of questions when they're making that transition. What what was your stress levels like when you transitioned out of high school, out of living out, and now you're off on your own in college? How did that affect your stress levels?
So I went to a private school for high school, and so I was able to learn how to manage time really well, but I didn't really know how to manage time in a more public environment. So when I went to University of South Carolina, I saw a bunch of different types of people, um, and I had to learn how to work with different types of people than just a lot of people who thought like me, or um, yeah.
Absolutely. And that can be stressful in itself when you talk about the different, changes that bring about stress. And, I don't care at what stage in your life, people are always going to be a trigger
Absolutely.
for stress, dealing with different types of people. There's some crazy folk out here and they drive you crazy. So, that's certainly dealing with people stress and time management as well. Kalendra, let me go to you. What is so you've been out in the world on your own. I know as you were growing up, adults are always telling you, "Hey, slow down, don't run too fast. Slow down,
Mhm.
don't grow too quick." Now that you're out there and you're dealing with more stress than before, do you kind of understand where we're coming from when we say stuff like
Hmm. Definitely. I feel like you never really understand until you go out there. Like we're gonna
that?
always want that, but to anybody who is watching, who isn't out there and don't have the adult responsibilities yet, enjoy not having the responsibility while it lasts.
hmm And that's funny because on the ride,
Yeah.
I just told Jeremiah that, when you're young, and you're not carrying the responsibilities of, trying to take care of X, Y, and Z and keep things afloat because, there's stresses with that. Because now, Calendar, I know you have a lot more responsibilities than before. I remember at one point you were in school and, you just mainly had, home, school, and a part-time job.
Mhm.
Now you have all of those things on a higher level with more stuff added on top of that, right? So, that just naturally adds on to the stress. And now to you, Jeremiah, what is stress to you? How much stress do you deal with in your life?
like with school and sports, it's the most stress that I get was like
Mm-hmm.
keeping up with grades and homework and keeping up with like things we learned in practice and putting that all together on the court and the field. And with school, just performing good grades, having A's and B's, that's one of my top accomplishments I want before I get into high school next year.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
And that's definitely admirable, and that's a hard task to follow. And I know you go to a pretty tough academic school, so I know they're pressing you for that. And just to throw something else, I mean, Jeremiah, you're the oldest of six young people at home, so you also have
Wow.
that added responsibility. I know, Kalendra, you're a big sister too, and you got a whole lot of little nieces and nephews. Like, there's added stresses and responsibilities with that. Now, Dr. S, one of the things that you and I were talking about the other day was, we feel like sometimes as adults, we see what the young people, we see what kids are going
Mhm.
through, and we look at the things that's on their plate. Now, we know
Mhm.
from our perspective, we kind of tend to, you know, how do I put it, not give as much value to the things that
Mhm.
young people out because we're like, oh, all you got to do is worry about this, this, and this. I got to do this, and then we like, oh, that's nothing what you're dealing with. But I feel like that's kind of that robs them of an opportunity to learn how to see stress, how to navigate it, and how to approach it.
Mhm.
That's
And
awesome.
see, a lot of times at this age, we don't really talk about stress because as parents, I had to come into the knowledge of that with my own children because we didn't really recognize that children and teens and young adults, they have their own stresses. It may not be bills, but I understand even more now with my own children that they face their own adversity. They face their own challenges. And if they're not taught how to cope, it can really overwhelm them. And you can see it in their behaviors, you can see it in their grades, their demeanor, and just how they are coping with just life. And so one of the things that I always say, and I tell my kids the same thing, that I may not can understand totally, because it's been a while since I was actually, a child at home, but through conversation, one of the things that I always say is communication. A lot of times adults don't really fully understand because there is a disconnect in communication. And one of the things I tell my children is you have to communicate how you feel and to really bring me into your world. Because in my mind, you're just going to school, you're coming home, you're doing homework, but understanding that there's other things that's happening too. So, one of the things I would definitely recommend is to communicate, reach out for help, and really talk about more how you're feeling.
Absolutely. So, Kalendra, let me jump to you. Do you feel like growing up through life as you're going through things that you had people in place to be able to express your stressful things to and get guidance and clearance on it?
Yeah, I definitely feel like for you, for instance, anyone who I felt comfortable enough to mentor me and take their advice on things, I also began to be comfortable enough to speak about my feelings. This is stressing me out. I need this as a solution. And even if that person that you confide in isn't the one who can give it to you, at least they can point you in the right direction to get that solution.
Oh, and I love that word that you said, solution, solution,
Yeah.
solution.
Yeah,
Actually,
communications.
mhm, finding answers and putting something in place to combat against that stress. Because like Dr. S said, a lot of times the stressors can be a physical and an emotional response. In fact, when you want to look at the actual definition, like just what stress is, stress is actually talking about pressure or tension that's exerted on something. That's what stress is talking about. This is you, and there's some pressure and tension coming against you, and that's That's what that stress is. That's what it's talking about. Um, Quentin, describe some of your highly stressful situations that you deal with now.
So starting next week, I get back into PT, which is physical training in the morning. So my days start at 5 in the morning and they typically end at around 10 to 11 at night because
Hmm.
I had 20 credit hours the first semester. Now I have 19 credit hours this semester. And so homework stacks up on each other and not a lot of free time on my hands. So yeah.
And that's as you're saying that, I'm sitting here like I'm so glad I don't graduated. Like I remember the stress and the pressures of doing that. But I'm so glad when you talk about the things that add to your stress. It brings me to something that Dr. S that you said in the beginning of this when you talked about good stress. Because I think a lot of times when we do think about stress, our mind just always jumps to the far end of it to think about,
Mm.
oh, this is bad, this is hard to deal with, this is a lot. How am I going to take it? But there actually has to be, good stress in our life to help us, propel us, to push us, not just in the physical flight or flight situations, but in actually, trying to stretch for something, trying to reach for something, trying to accomplish different goals and things like that.
Hmm.
Jeremiah, do you have some good stress going on in your life?
Um, kind of with us going back to school full time next week, and it's gonna be like a lot more work and a lot more tests because we couldn't really have any this week. So that's the one
Hmm.
thing that's have been putting stress on me.
Okay. Now, let me ask you this. Do you recognize that as good stress?
Yeah, some of it, like most of it, is gonna help me in the future with my grades and stuff, and some
Hmm.
of it is kind of like on like the bad end of it.
You have somewhat of an understanding that it's going to produce something good in you later on in the future. Will certainly helps it out. Dr. S, getting in the year, let's get a little bit into deeper in your life. Talk to us from you're the expert here. Like your relationship with stress. What was some of the highly stressful situations that you've been through in life in general? And talk to us about those if you
Well, as an adult or as a teenager?
can. Either or.
Okay. I know as a teenager, I had the issue of not always fitting in. So that used to really stress me out in that regard. As an adult, just raising teens in this climate has been very challenging, but it has also taught me something by having open communication with my children to the best of my ability. But through talking, I had to literally give them the opportunity to talk in a safe place without judgment so I can really understand. But before I got to that place, I was very stressed because I had no idea what was going on and why they were doing what they were doing. And so that was stressful as a parent because I'm like, what is going on? But what I'm learning and I continue to learn is to have better communication, which has really declined my stress a whole lot. I
Mm.
hear a lot more than probably that I want to hear, but it allows them to have a safe, ooh, it allows them to have a safe place. And I'm recognizing, even if it's not with me, having a mentor, like Kalandra said, having someone else that is available to them, so they can have someone to talk to. But as a parent, period, just trying to raise two teens, a young adult in this climate. I have a son that's freshman year in college, and I have a daughter that's in the 11th grade. So right now, I would say that would be one of the stressors of many. Just for the sake of time, I'll just use that as an example.
Understood because I know if adults want to be honest, is that list is Right, almost endless. And then it's important, Quentin, Jeremiah, and Kalendra, understanding that life really doesn't get easier. It really doesn't. Everything that you're dealing with now is imperative that you learn how to handle it on the level that you're at now, because every next step that you take in life, the expectancy is for you to be able to handle everything that was previously on your plate while they add more to it. That's just the expectancy going through life. Um,
And
Jeremiah.
if I could,
Oh yeah.
oh no, I was just gonna simply say, since you said about the plates, and one thing I can say, and I tell my clients this, it's all about priority, right? If you can
Mhm.
prioritize the things that you have to get done, it will allow you to do it one by one or put it in a time slot. Because if you look at it in its totality, it can be overwhelming. I got 6 classes, then mama want me to take out the garbage, and then you got all these other things. You want to hang out with your friends, but you have, so it's all about priority and being in the moment to try to accomplish things step by step or time slots of when you're going to accomplish something or complete it.
Mhm. And that goes back to something that Quentin that you mentioned earlier when you talked about learning how to better deal with time management. Learn how to
Mm-hmm.
better handle that. And it's almost like, when you going through the ROTC program currently in college, you're going to kind of have a leg up on, the competition of your peers when you get out in the real world, because these, next 4 years for you is jam packed with learning how to properly manage your time. And I mean, again, time management, that's a huge thing, because
It
it's like,
is.
not only do you have all of these other different things to deal with, you're prioritizing, but then you also have to take into account, like, exercise, keeping your body well, taking care of your mind, your emotions, healthy eating. And in fact, that just segues us right into the next thing I want to ask you, Dr. S. How does stress? Because I know you deal with the mind, the body, and the spirit. How does stress affect a person's mind, their body, and their spirit or soul? Like, how does stress affect us in those different areas?
Because as far as with the mind, there are certain hormones that we want to be released that makes us happy, that makes us have more mental clarity, so we can really see life as it is presently and kind of put a strategy to it. But when we are stressed, it's like everything just begins to cave in. So mentally, you can't even think the way that you would normally. You can think about you're preparing for a test, and right before the test, it's like everything is jammed in your mind, and you're taking the test and your mind go blank, right? So what's
Mhm.
happening is being overwhelmed with stress, and which is a segue to anxiety. From the body part, whenever we exercise, we are releasing the stress. That's a perfect way. Another healthy way to release stress is by exercising, because you're exerting that energy, you're building yourself up from the inside out, and it's a perfect opportunity to release, through whatever exercise that you choose. And then spiritually, whenever you're stressed, it causes you to be more distant. It changes your mood. It changes, the things that you would normally do. It even changes your faith, right? You get very discouraged easily. You're triggered easily because everything is just so out of proportion and out of whack. So mentally stressed, it affects what you do, how you show up, physically, your body, the tension that comes from stress. If you don't do anything with it, it can cause obesity, diabetes, it can cause high blood pressure, right? If it just sits there. And then again, spiritually, it just keeps you in a very discouraged place that can also lead to constant anxiety and depression.
Oh wow! And you definitely spoke two huge words right there: depression and anxiety. Because that's certainly something that, whether it's on a small scale or a large scale, we're constantly dealing with something that's triggering certain parts of anxiety, certain parts of depression. And it's something that I've had to learn in my life as I'm growing up. Like, this is something that you have to like actively combat against on a regular basis. Like, you just can't allow yourself to be like, if there's a stream going down, you can't just allow yourself to be just stagnant in the stream, just going with the motion. No, we got to be like that and swim upstream and fight back against it. Linda, have you ever gone through a situation where you actually felt like the physical pain from the different stresses that were going on in your life?
Yeah, I mean, recently when I got into my wreck.
Oh wow. Oh wow, I'm so sorry. Well, if you're here with us, I'm glad that we know that you made it out okay. That's absolutely. Now, Dr. S, one of the things that when you were actually talking about stress, it's kind of like we tend to think of stress as like an intangible thing, like it's a word, is there, we feel the effects, but it's not an actual thing. But from the way you describe it, what you talk about as if stress is something that builds up inside of us.
Mhm.
And we were talking about like exercising, like a releasing of that energy, so it doesn't just sit on us and
Mhm.
cause more problems about that. Could you dig into that a little more?
Absolutely. So what stress does, it attacks the healthy cells. Okay. And stress is actually known as the silent killer. And I when I say that, I know it can be very frightening, but stress attacks the body in such a way that it can shut the body down because of the fact that it's literally smothering the healthy cells. And so your body is not able to heal, to vibrate the way that it should because of the stress. Because get this, whatever you think your body hears,
Hmm.
whatever you think your body hears. So if you are overly stressed and you have all of these negative things going on in your head and you're feeling defeated, your body is going to respond accordingly because they are one. Right. And
Hmm.
so that's why we have to be so mindful. And, in the clinical world, stress is known as a silent killer because we don't often talk about it. We suppress it and we cover it by saying, I'm okay. And I had to stop when I asked my kids, how has your day been, or how was your day? When they say good, I have began to say, well, what has made it good? Tell me something that maybe you wasn't very happy about. Because again, releasing it through conversation, releasing it through activity, releasing it by the way that you're thinking can really help save your life, and really you can avoid underlining issues that are caused from stress. Releasing it through conversation, releasing it through activity, releasing it by the way that you're thinking can really help save your life, and really you can avoid underlining issues that are caused from stress.
No. Well, one of the things you talked about again, the physical activity, the exercise.
Mm-hmm.
Jeremiah, with you being an athlete, I know you're playing basketball right now. When you played football, do you view playing sports as like an avenue to release some of that tension, to release some of that stress?
Oh yeah, most definitely. Like with football, with football, if I'm feeling stressed, I'll just like I'll let it out on the field, and after that, I'll just feel more relieved. And with
Mm-hmm.
basketball, I just have fun and have fun with my teammates and work hard and release out the stress with those sports also.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, it's good, and I must admit, even as a football coach, with football being a physically aggressive sport, I actually coach kids like, hey, I know you're stressed out about X, Y, Z, this, that, and the third. Take it out on them. You're on the field. You know, hey, you can't put your hands on people in real life. And then, you want to sometimes, but you can't. But that's the good part about football. I'm like, hey, this is a chance for you to like physically get into someone and release some of that tension, release some of that stress in a fun and a healthy way. Now, Rendra, I don't remember, you didn't play sports in high school, did you? Didn't?
I ran track.
You ran track. All right. So now I know track took up a part of the season. When you were in the off season, what are different ways that you approach your stress when you're in high school and it wasn't football season? What were some of the things that you like to
Um, I mean, I still liked doing things that I thought were interesting. So at the time, like looking for schools, but a big part of that was singing. So going to the studio, and even within that, you have to work out and make sure you have your breath correct, and even performing and stuff like that. But just putting your time into things that you actually enjoy doing, things that are making you grow. I definitely feel like you can relieve stress that way also.
do? Absolutely, absolutely. I know. I guess in the adult land, we call it like hobbies. Actually having a hobby, and Dr. S, it's so funny because I think so. I feel like in today's society, gotta get these both right. In today's society, there's everyone wants to chase the bag. Everyone wants to make money. And I feel like, sometimes that like, we don't get a chance to have a hobby because we have to monetize or do everything for business, everything to make money. And I can't lie, I've kind of been trapped into that. You might have had a skill or something just decent at it over here. Like, well, I'm going to make some money out of this. Now that you're treated like business, there's a certain level of respect that you have to give to it, marketing, getting it around, making sure you're doing a good job and all of that. But I just found it beneficial just to have like some hobby, something to do that you're not doing it for fun. In recent years, I've actually learned to enjoy photography, actually enjoy going around taking pictures. Not that they're greatest, professional pictures, but just, they're good to me. And that's been something release of stress to me. Do you have any hobbies or extracurricular things that you do that was like relieving the stress for you?
Absolutely. Well, I'm also a meditation coach. I found that you will be so surprised how just having moments where you're just being still, thinking of something positive, that can definitely help to release those things that no longer serve you to bring you back to a place of positivity. Journaling, people, writing out how you feel, that is so therapeutic, and we kind of oftentimes shy away from that, but journaling how you feel is very therapeutic. Going for a walk, joining some type of club where you're around community that y'all enjoy the same things, right? So now you can find people that relate more to you, and y'all can do things collectively. you know I always like to say this as well. Chatting, calling up someone like on Zoom like this. And one of the things that people overlook, like, are y'all ready? Let me tell you. What
Good.
can definitely help your stress immediately is laughter.
Yeah.
Laughter. We do not laugh enough. And even if you're in a bad mood or you're stressed, if you watch something funny, I'm telling you, that is therapy. They actually have a laughing yoga where all you do is different types of laughs. And it seems crazy, but it really helps stress. Guess who's been to the laughing yoga and
Oh,
had a ball? even if I had to force a laugh, your mind doesn't know if you're faking or if it's really happening. And so because I was in that motion, it began to release those really good hormones, and I felt so much better. So those are just some little small subtle things that you can do that we oftentimes overlook.
Well, y'all, let's put that into practice real quick and test it out and see how we feel. All right. So on the count of three, I'm gonna count down. All right. We're all gonna just bust into a good old hearty laugh. If it ain't something funny, fake it. Just laugh. Look at my shiny head. That's like,
Because your body don't know the difference.
all right, so we're going, and then you at home watching this, I want y'all to join in with us too. So we all about to laugh together and release some good hormones. All right, three, two, one.
It makes a crazy sound. Let's be silly.
I've never. That's so. So and you said that about laughter because I've heard before, like when we talk about visualizing things and seeing it in your mind, like your mind doesn't know the difference. But I've never heard that with laughter. I've never known that. Wow.
Yes.
And I don't know how I can't lie. This whole conversation has been somewhat therapeutic along the lines, but I promise you, like I felt the difference, pre-laugh even till now. And the funny part was, it started out as a fake laugh, but it actually for me started to get a little bit genuine along the way. Did it get real for any of y'all? Y'all just faking the whole thing.
Yeah.
Like Linda,
And I
you
started
really
making those
say,
sounds.
all right.
But that's why social media
So that's
is.
all the time that we have for this segment. Make sure you come back and check out part 2 when it gets posted so we can finish this amazing conversation with the amazing holistic practitioner, Dr. S. And I just want to say thank you, Dr. S, for sharing your expertise with us. Quentin, Jeremiah, Kalendra, thank you so much for spending your time with Adulting 101 and sharing with us and allowing us to enrich your lives. And viewers at home, thank you so much for watching. Now, we got a chance, we really dug into what stress is, the importance of stress management and how that stress affects our body. And Dr. S gave us a few tools, tips, and tricks that we can use when we encounter stressful situations. Now, make sure you come back and join us when we get the part 2 put up so that you can learn more techniques on how to better navigate and deal with the stress in your life. But I do want to leave you with a call to action because we got this good knowledge, this good information, and we want to make sure that it's useful to us. So the call to action is the first thing I need you to do is I need you to have a moment of reflection. I need you to take the time to think back over what was talked about during this session. I want you to think about the things that came up inside of you as you were listening. If you were like me, as we're having this conversation, you're getting remembrances of, certain situations and circumstances and things surrounding your life. Those didn't come up for no reason, so you definitely want to take the time to reflect on those situations and see what information that you can pull out of this to apply it to that. That's the next thing I need you to do, is to apply what it is that you learn. We're encountering stressful situations all the time. No matter what we're trying to accomplish in life, there's going to be some stress. There's going to be stress coming from all different ways. So really knowing how to navigate and manage that stress is important. So that's why we want to make sure that we learn how to do it and apply it. All right, the next thing I want you to do is, if you got any benefit out of this video, any benefit out of this information, I need you to share it with somebody else. You're one person, just find 2 people. You're one. I just want you to find 2 people to share this with that you think would enrich their lives as it is done for you. And then the next thing I want you to do is, now at the end of this in the credits, you'll see the contact information for Adulting 101 org, and you'll also see the contact information for Dr. S. So if you like to partner with Dr. S, work with her, take advantage of some of the services that she offers, be sure to grab that information and reach out to her. And then also make sure you check out her radio show. It's called The Breathing Room. You can catch it at 10:15 a.m. every Tuesday on WDRB Media on iHeartRadio. So make sure you check that out. But we would absolutely love to hear from you at Adulting 101. You can check us out on Instagram and Facebook at Adulting101org. When you interact with us, use that hashtag DoAdulting. Now again, in the contacts information, you'll see the email, you'll see the P.O. box. So write us, email us with any questions, comments, and concerns. Again, we'd love to hear from you. So hey, make sure you come back and check out part 2 of this conversation as we finish it up with strategic stress strategies. Thank you so much for spending this time with us and sharing this conversation and joining in on this conversation with us. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Peace.